Welcome to Sydney Kingsford Smith International Airport. Directly behind me is the Virgin Australia section of Terminal 2. Unfortunately, I won't be flying with Virgin. Instead, I'll be flying with Qantas to cross the country, bound for Perth.
Having woken up around 3:30 a.m. earlier that morning, as well as arrived at the airport less than 15 minutes prior to filming, I was amazed that I was even awake and able to function, as I went to bed at 11:30 the previous day. As I film more and more videos starting at Sydney, it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find new locations to film. To anyone that lives in Sydney, if you have any suggestions on where I can film or where I can start my videos that I haven't done before, feel free to drop a comment below, as I'm always keen to explore more of my home airport. Sydney Kingsford Smith International Airport, or Mascot Airport, is the primary airport serving the city and suburb that it's named after, and it's also the largest airport in Australia by passenger movements. But interestingly, it's not the largest airport by size. That belongs to Brisbane, and soon to be Melbourne Tullamarine, with its third runway currently under construction. Unfortunately, Sydney has no real room to expand due to its location being effectively in what's now the middle of the suburbs, with Botany Bay to the south. In order to combat this, a second airport out west, namely Western Sydney International, has completed construction and is set to jet us all off to numerous international and domestic destinations in late 2026. Having arrived at the terminal, I quickly proceeded upstairs to start the check-in process. Qantas used to be the sole airline that operated out of Terminal 3 until April of 2025, when Rex or Regional Express moved in. This of course excludes Qantas Link. Qantas's check-in kiosks can be found practically everywhere in the terminal. However, I opted for a manual check-in at the counters, which are located on the far left-hand side of the building, adjacent to the terminal exit. Check-in this morning was equally easy as it was quick, taking but a matter of minutes to complete, and upon completion, with my bag on its way to Perth, I quickly turned around and made my way towards security, which is located in the centre of the building. Post-security are numerous retail outlets, restaurants, bars, lounges, and interestingly, a Heinemann store. Heinemann, a German duty-free wholesaler, has, quote, taken retail leisure to the next level with the introduction of Australia's first department store concept. Unfortunately, this store is strictly retail and is not a duty-free store, as this is a perk of international travel only. Upon arriving at today's gate, I quickly made my way to the window to view the aircraft waiting to take me to Perth. Today's aircraft is a Boeing 737-800, registered as Victor Hotel, Victor Yankee Golf. Construction of this airframe was completed at Boeing's final assembly line in May of 2005, being delivered brand new to Qantas in July of the same year, making this aircraft 20 years old. Interestingly, this aircraft was the 151st Boeing aircraft to ever be delivered to Qantas, and it's also Qantas's 31st 737. Boarding today commenced on time at Gate 7. Qantas in the past few months has implemented boarding groups to aid in the boarding process. Groups 1 and 2 are for business class and higher tier One World frequent flyers, and groups 3 to 6 are for economy class passengers, starting from the back and working their way forward. As I will be seated in the rear half of the aircraft, I was instructed to board via the rear stairs. Qantas's Boeing 737-800s all have the exact same configuration, with 174 seats in a two-class layout. There are 12 recliner business class seats in a 2-2 layout, and 162 economy class seats in a 3-3 layout. This morning I shall be seated in 21 Alpha on the port side or the left-hand side of the aircraft. Qantas has opted for a slight variation on an old version of the standard Recaro economy class seat, which features 30 inches or 76 centimeters of pitch and 17.2 inches or 44 centimeters of width. There is a standard tray table which folds down and extends towards you. In the seat back pocket, you'll find a safety card, Qantas magazine, and an air sickness bag. Above are individual reading lights, air vents, and a flight attendant call button. In between each trio of seats are 4 USB-A ports. Soon we commenced our pushback from Gate 7, right on time.
Your cabin crew are here for your safety, so it is important you follow the instructions at all times.
Just outside of Darwin. We all have a place that fills our heart and makes us feel safe. Give us your attention for the next few minutes and we'll keep you safe.
Find your life jacket under your seat, next to it, or in the leg rest. Remove your life jacket from the pouch by pulling the tab. Put it over your head.
We taxied to runway 34 right via Charlie, Lima, Alpha and Alpha 6.
And mouthpiece for inflation, and a whistle, and right.
Now please enjoy this unedited takeoff. After takeoff, we made a slight left-hand turn away from the airport, which set up our northwesterly course for Perth. Flight time today is 4 hours and 25 minutes, covering a distance of 2,062 miles or 3,318 kilometers, cruising at 32,000 and 36,000 feet. Once in the air, and due to the northwesterly course today, I was able to see much of the southwestern suburbs of Sydney, including the Bankstown Aerodrome. This was of course until we passed into the cloud layer. However, once reaching cruising altitude, in the distance was the southern highland towns of Mossvale and Bowral. Qantas offers free complimentary Wi-Fi on all of their 737s, which now include trans-Tasman flights. I find that the Wi-Fi works well enough, especially when it comes to the messages. However, it can be a little bit patchy, and sometimes I have to end up disconnecting and then reconnecting in order for it to work again. There is also the Qantas Entertainment app, which features a wide variety of TV shows, music, movies, and games. Included in the app is a moving map feature, which has recently been updated and is by far one of the best I've ever seen. After getting a quick 30-minute power nap, and whilst the cabin crew began serving breakfast in the forward rows, down below was the southwestern New South Wales town of Balranald. Soon the crew reached my row, and I was handed a hot box. For breakfast today, we only had one option, which was scrambled eggs with baked beans, sautéed spinach, and semi-sun-dried tomatoes. This was also served with a round of drinks, and in my case I opted for a cup of coffee with milk and sugar. As the sun continued to rise over South Australia, in the distance was Kangaroo Island, which is named for the estimated 650,000 kangaroos that call the island home. Having left South Australia behind, the cabin crew handed out small bottles of water to any and all passengers that wanted one. With roughly 1 hour left until landing, we passed directly over the Western Australian town of Esperance, known for its turquoise water and stunning beaches. The cabin crew then handed out Lindt chocolate balls, which was a very nice touch. On board the aircraft are 3 bathrooms, one at the front for business and 2 at the rear for economy. Inside is everything you would typically come to expect for this aircraft type, including women's sanitary products and a baby changing station. Soon we commenced our descent into Perth. Depending on what side of the aircraft you sit on and the wind conditions of the day, this can greatly alter the views on landing here at Perth. In today's case, the winds were blowing from the northwest, which meant also that there was barely any turbulence when flying over the mountains east of Perth. Due to the wind conditions today, all traffic were guided to the southwest of the airfield before turning right sharply before landing. This also had the fortunate side effect of having absolutely fantastic views of the southern suburbs of Perth, such as Armadale, and not to mention the Perth CBD before landing. Now please enjoy this unedited landing.
Welcome to Perth. Everyone, the local time is 8:42 a.m. Please make your mind to remain seated.
After landing, we taxied back to Terminal 3 via Whiskey, Charlie, November and Delta. We pulled into gate 17 Delta, 13 minutes ahead of our scheduled arrival time. Stepping off the aircraft, I turned my attention away from Qantas and towards reclaiming my bag and meeting up with Stephen from Aussie Jetsetter. So, I just flew on board one of Qantas's Boeing 737s between Sydney and Perth. What are my thoughts? Well, as always, let's start from the beginning. Check-in this morning was very quick and easy, taking only a matter of minutes to complete, which was expected for Qantas. Security, much like check-in, was also very easy. However, today I was not searched, which is pretty strange for me, as I usually do, due to my camera mount having a pistol grip. On board, the seat was comfy and had fairly decent padding and legroom, perfect for this 4.5 hour journey. The food served was very tasty and also very filling. The eggs were my favourite in particular, being creamy and not super salty. However, the coffee, yeah, it's airplane coffee, it's not the best. And lastly, the crew were very kind and caring and took particular attention to fulfilling all passenger requests. My seatmate even got a blanket and a pillow on request, which was really good to see. So, would I recommend you to fly with Qantas? Well, no matter what I tell you about this flight, everyone has their own opinion, and to each their own. I thought today's flight was fairly good, and I would definitely recommend Qantas. However, they weren't cheap. $450 for this one-way flight to be exact. So, whether you choose to fly with Qantas is a choice that I leave, obviously, entirely up to you. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you check out my other videos if you'd like to see more. And I have said this before, but I now have a Discord server. Feel free to join. The link can be found at the top of the description. And as always, feel free to press the notification button too, as it will let you know whenever I upload again, which happens every single Friday at 8 PM Sydney time. And I hope to see you all again in the next one. See you later.